universal time code, which, or I'm going to use UTC for short.
Whit, it's UTC. You know that.
I don't know what any of that means. I went to LSU.
So what we're saying is it's not as easy as people are making it sound.
UTIs, gyroscopes, all that
UTIs.
good stuff.
UTIs.
Isn't that what we said? Right. Is that not what we were talking about?
It's Tuesday, April 8th, and you were listening to the Fitz and Whit Show. I'm Fitz, and that man right there with the 55th pick of the 2006 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Andrew Whitworth, tackle,
baby.
LSU. Whit, are you still pissed that you didn't go higher?
I am. That's why I wore 55 all my career. No, I don't give a shit. Listen, I was one of those that I didn't even quite understand why people thought I should go high in the first place, but I enjoyed playing at LSU, man. I was just having fun, you know. But listen, I know you're going to whine and cry about where you were picked and say it was so tough. But listen, when you get picked high in the draft, Fitz, there's lots of a thing called expectations. So people are out to be like, all right, let's, you know, they're going to waste this pick on this guy, which I don't know if the Cincinnati Bengals were real excited to waste a pick on a left tackle when they had just re-signed Levi Jones and they had Willie Anderson, a great right tackle. So I wasn't a very exciting pick for the Bengals. Let's just put it that way. I think there was a guy named Leonard Pope, tight end at Georgia, who the Bengals fans were a little more, we want that guy. Another weapon for the offense, but
it worked out okay.
Hey, listen, go ahead and tell me now. I know you are still, but are you pissed that you can go any higher?
No. I'm just so happy I got drafted. I think it's so funny when you watch the draft, you get to the 7th round, and whoever's doing the commentating for ESPN always throws out the comment every 7th round. You know, at this point, it'd be better to go undrafted.
That's the best.
And I get it, because you get to select where you go. You get to pick a good situation. But guess what? If you're not drafted, you're going to be scratching and clawing to make the team anyway. So the fact that I got picked, yes, it was 5 picks from the last, but the fact that I got picked and could say it was an NFL draft pick to me was way better than being undrafted and getting to choose where I went. And I'll always remember I was picked number 250. Right after me, the Rams had another pick, potentially one of the greatest football names of all time. Madison Hedgecock got picked at 251. Some people aren't going to remember him, but any of the Giants fans listening, he was the fullback on that Super Bowl 42 team. So they will remember Madison Hedgecock, still one of the best names ever. I wonder what he's doing now. He's probably farming somewhere. But I was the last of 14 quarterbacks that were taken 14. That year.
Is that why?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Is that why you wore 14? Was this like I was joking about the 55 thing?
No, yeah, when you said that, I was like, "Oh, I hope he doesn't bring that up." No, it wasn't. I'll give you my number history real quick, and I don't want to bore you to death, so I'm going to do it as fast as I can. My older brother played quarterback in high school before me at the same high school I went to. He wore 11. I wanted to do everything he did, so I wore number 11. Got to college. I wasn't asking for numbers. They just gave me 14 in college, okay? But then I got to the Rams. I think 14 was taken by Jeff Wilkins, a kicker. 11 was taken. They gave me 12. Did I care? No. I was happy I had a uniform. The next year, Gus Frerotte comes in, and he says, "Hey, I'm number 12 now." And I was like, okay. I guess I'll go back to 11.
So Gus actually took your number, not Puka.
Yeah, so Gus took my number, and then Puka. But Puka had to ask permission, of course, just because it's such a legendary career and number in St. Louis lore, ending the greatest show on turf, if we've alluded to. Do you remember what number I was in Cincinnati when we were teammates?
11, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
So I was 11. Again, I'm not asking for anything. Just give me a number. I get to Buffalo. I did like 11. Roscoe Parrish was 11, so I was 14. So at that point in my career, 14 and Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of went together in the NFL. I kind of became probably more known when I was on the Bills. So 14 was the number I wanted from there on out. I get cut. I go to Tennessee. There's a practice squad guy with 14. What do I do with? Do I bully him and take his number like Gus Frerotte did to me?
You should have. I'm just going to tell you.
I took number 4, and
that's why I'm saying you should have.
It wasn't
your best look. I'm going to be honest. It wasn't your best look. those numbers already were funky on those uniforms, and the Ford, it was not.
No, the Ford did me no favors. Let's just say that. I love Brett Favre, but the Ford did me no favors. So the only other, we'll put an end to this, but so I was 14 from there on out, the rest of my career, Houston and on. But when I was in Miami, Brian Flores, I get signed and he gives me 14, which I was very appreciative of. But when I got there, I found out that they took it from a practice squad guy. Bryce Butler got called up the year before.
Bryce, yeah.
At the very end. And so I felt bad. So I said, Bryce, like, I do want to be 14. I don't want to take your number. Does it mean anything to you? Oh, not really. Okay, well, let me make it up to you. I knew he was into golfing. I said, let me get you some new golf clubs. Okay. Bryce says, hey, that's great. That's a really nice gesture. And I didn't want to barge into this thing and, steal somebody's number and have all the wide receivers hate me. So he goes to PGA Superstore. I said, just call me when you're done. I'll give him my credit card number. It'll be great. This asshole, and Bryce is still a dear friend, $9,568.
Yeah, baby. You got to get the best of the best.
I don't know. What can you
PXGs? What was he getting?
If you got PXGs, the best of the best, irons, wedges, driver, 3-wood, every wood possible, a Ginty, a Chutter, like how much does that cost? The most expensive bag in there.
PXGs are probably going to be $5,000-$6,000.
So he probably got PXGs, and then I'm assuming, and I still haven't asked him about this, that he just went, hey, can you give me 100 dozen of the Pro V1s, please? Anyway, nice gesture.
But do you realize he's like a golf influencer now? Like he's you started this. Technically, you can take some credit. He's on Instagram, posting all his rounds and videos and everywhere he plays, and that's his thing.
So I will say this: I think it was when we were playing in Tahoe at the American Century. I saw him. And he was interviewing for Sports Illustrated, whatever he was doing. I said, how do you like the clubs, man? How are they going? He said, I got rid of them after the first year. Didn't really like them. They weren't.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, that's fun. Thank you. What about you? So 77, two things I wanted to ask you. 77, any special meeting other than, he's a left tackle, great. And then the sleeves. You always, towards the tail end of your career, you always wore sleeves. So tell me about that.
77, no significance. At LSU, I was 76. As I was saying, I got drafted to Cincinnati, and they actually at that time had Eric Steinbach was going to be a free agent after the season, my rookie year, but they had all 5 guys signed under contract. So I wasn't actually a very exciting pick for the fan base, but I got there, and Levi Jones had just signed an extension as a left tackle. He's number 76. So it was like, you know what? I can't have my college number, so let's get the next closest number, and 77 was it, which it became the number I wore the rest of my career and pretty special to me now. But, the sleeves fits. So here's the deal. I was from the South, hot, sweaty, the humidity, all these things. I get up to Cincinnati, and I was like, man, this is like I feel good every day. And it's not that hot. And I was always somebody, I don't know why, but like, grass and stuff like that bothered me. So like even growing up playing football, I would get rashes. I would get itchy just from playing in the grass all the time. So I hated it. And so I finally just, when I got to the NFL, I was like, that was when nobody really wore sleeves. And then all of a sudden they started making those kind of undershirts you'd wear under your pads with sleeves. And I was like, dude, I wore them a couple times in practices. And I realized like I didn't get so itchy when I was practicing and stuff like that. I didn't have as many breakouts on my arms. So I just started rocking them. And then I had a rule, because I know you're going to give me shit about this, but it's like, cold weather, hot weather, all this. I was like, all right, if I'm going to wear sleeves, I can't pick and choose. So it can't be like all of a sudden for a cold weather game, you're wearing sleeves. So I had to wear them year round. So there were some training camps that got a little hot where I was rocking those sleeves out there, cramping up, because I was like, man, I've got to be consistent. If I'm wearing these things, I got to wear them all the time. So that was the rule.
Well, and it became your look. I did
actually rock a visor for a little while there too, but I eventually got rid of that. So
you were a visor guy?
I don't have a real excuse for that one.
But did you have to get the eye doctor?
No, because it wasn't dark. As long as it wasn't colored or tinted or whatever, you were all right. So mine was clear, and I wore the visor. But my greatest story of wearing sleeves, Fitz, because I did always cover up, is when I moved out to Cali and I'm going to Proactive to train for the first time. Malik Jackson's in there, and we're working out together. And he's like, wait, he had played in Denver. We played against each other in a big game at the end of the season in 15. And he goes, "Wait, you're white?" And I was like, "What?" He was like, "Dude, I've played against you a bunch of times. I never realized you weren't black." And I was like, "Appreciate it, man."
Well,
So,
it's probably, yeah.
I think that's a compliment if you're a left tackle. So
I do too. And we've talked about how your voice changes, depending on who you're talking to every now and again.
Oh,
so
boy, here we go.
I get it.
There we go.
All
Can
right,
we get to the show? Actually, I do want to say this real quick.
Okay.
I'm excited to be back, buddy. I missed you over the last couple of weeks.
I know. I missed you too, man. We got to see each other just for like a brief 20 hours when we did the owners meetings, which we'll get into all of that. And that was really nice, but I've got a lot to talk to you about. I really do. Now, if you check your NFL calendar, you're going to see 16 days to the start of the 2025 NFL draft.
Let's go.
You can catch the first round. That's picks 1 through 32, April 24th at Lambeau Field. But we can't wait that long. So we're going to be on the clock today. I'm a huge mock draft guy, Whit.
Are you really?
Oh my God. No, I hate mock drafts.
I was about to say, I don't know if I knew that about you.
No, they're the absolute worst. So we are going to do a different kind of mock draft today. And I thought just on the heels of us being at the owners meetings, us getting to sit down and talk to a bunch of the coaches, McVay tree, you obviously being buddies with a lot of them, me being on the outskirts and waving to some of them and getting a wave back, being sacked by Vrabel. I thought we could do a mock draft of the 3 coaches you would want to go to dinner with, just to go have a meal. So we'll do that coming up later in the show. But is this like really all excited.
Of them together, or is this just like a one-on-one meal?
So
what are we doing?
I think it should be a one-on-one meal.
Yeah,
I think it should be, and that might be a little bit awkward, but I think one-on-one meal.
Are we talking breakfast, lunch, dinner? What's
your choice?
Okay, I get to choose the setting as well. Okay,
you get to choose the setting
a little bit.
Yep. All right. Yeah, but we'll do that later, and I've got some thoughts. I can't wait.
Okay. All right, Fitz. I think we'll get an opportunity also on this, man, to talk a little bit about the owners' meetings. We were lucky enough to be there, got a chance to run into all the people, the media members, the coaches, the owners. We still I think we're really close to getting Stan Kroenke on the podcast. I mean, it seems like we're making strides there.
Yeah, he wants. Well, and we always run into that old gumshoe Jeff Hobson, your best buddy from Cincinnati.
Oh, Hopsy. So. You know what? Hops is a good man. He listen. It took him about 3 seconds to hit me with the tape recorder when I saw him on Monday. I was like, oh my God! Literally, he's hey Whit. One question for you, real quick. Pulled that tape recorder out.
I think the tape recorder is still from when he was at Syracuse as an undergrad. So I think it's like 50 years old. Love seeing Hobbs and everybody.
Yeah, we'll also, Fitz, get a chance to get into some of the rule changes. I mean, there were definitely some rule changes this year. Some of them we talked about a little bit. And also, man, we're going to get a chance to invite one of the smartest guys we both know. For once, I don't have to, feel like I got to talk about Harvard all day. He is definitely one of the most passionate guys we know about the rules, our buddy Sam Schwartzstein. He's going to come on the show with us. He's our analytics expert for Thursday Night Football on Prime and was the architect of the rule book for the XFL, which included the introduction of the dynamic kickoff, and he is fired up about the dynamic kickoff. Let me tell you something. I used to get some texts during the season, Fitz, about Sean McVay and what the Rams need to be doing on these dynamic kickoffs because Sam gets fired up about it. He's also got an interesting take on how this round of rule changes will affect the upcoming season, and I can't wait to ask him, Fitz, about spotting the ball stuff because, he had some stuff he shared right after the Super Bowl about that. He's got a wealth of knowledge about all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's like anything analytics, anything technology that goes into the game. Amazon, we're so lucky to have him because of his passion for it, and I promise you will feel it right away. I don't think I've ever met anybody as passionate about the rules. Maybe Gene Steratore with March Madness and some of the basketball stuff.
Gene.
I love at the end, Gene, those games where it was the first 2 days where like he's essentially on a 18-hour shift. Like some of those last games, he's like, oh, I don't care. Out of bounds. I don't know. Like poor Gene, man, hardest working man in showbiz the last month. Sam's a great dude. He was actually Andrew Luck's center at Stanford. Very smart
Stanford's
guy.
Finest.
But we'll also do our little segment where we're going to read some of the fan comments, a lot of questions to catch up on. It's been a couple weeks, so we've got plenty. I want to get your ruling on this mercy rule. Had an interesting thing happen with my son Tate in basketball that I can't wait to share with you. And, one of the things that gets me going on Twitter is when I see somebody end a conversation with my guy or my boy, my guy,
Yep.
my boy.
Why
now
is
I
that?
saw you. Well, we're going to have to talk about it later because I
Okay.
saw you respond with a my guy to somebody, which I think shows your intent of what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
But first,
there with
before we
bless
get
your
into
heart.
that, I don't even want to get it. Yeah, I don't want to
Okay.
get into it yet because I was shocked that you put it, but I think I know the intent behind it.
Okay.
I do want to get into and have you talk a little bit about the end of an era in Los Angeles. Cooper Kupp has officially left the building.
Yeah, man. Last Thursday, got a chance to go into the gym, and it was going to be Cooper Kupp's last workout, last week. And so, all the guys, heard Thursday was going to happen. So go in to watch him train on Friday, and Stafford shows up, and Coop loves a good sweet treat. So Stafford comes walking in the gym. He wanted to come up there and see all the guys work out. We've talked a little bit about our gym, the Village, and Puka and Cooper and Tyler Higbee and Jordan Whittington, Xavier Smith, all those guys kind of work out together. And Stafford comes walking in with a box of donuts, just to kind of a little rib shot at Cooper in the middle of his workout. And so Stafford and I hang out, watch the whole workout, have a chance to just kind of sit there and wait. We want to give him a hug. Cooper is literally training, and Anna and the kids are waiting and like literally showing up in the car. They're going to get in the car, go straight to the airport, and they're flying to Seattle. Like it's go time. We're going up there to find a house, all that good stuff. And so you're sitting there watching him work out, obviously a dude who really special to the organization. You can tell there's a little bit of some tears in some eyes in Puka and how much he's meant to Puka just over these first couple of years, getting to be around him. But then also in Coops, there's a couple of moments I'm watching him and, he'd pause like after a bench set or something and just sit there for a second. And you could tell he's trying to keep it together because anybody who's wired like he is and as special as he is to really what our organization was in our locker room, listen, there is a lot of emotional investment in a place when you're a leader like that. And so I think that that flood of memories, and I'm sure you've had those fits when you left different places in your career, were hitting him. And I think some of it was me and Stafford standing there watching. I've shared this, but our last season together when we won the Super Bowl, we had a deal called the Breakfast Club. And every single Tuesday, me, Stafford, and Cooper would bring the wives, and we would go to Soho, Malibu, and meet for breakfast. And that was like our time away from the building, away from football. And we would spend 2 hours together just as parents. Our kids are dropped off at school. And that was just kind of our emotional connect time to get away from everything else and just kind of be normal, everyday people having breakfast in a beautiful setting and talking about life. And so that whole year, we did that every single week. The bye weeks, the Super Bowl week, literally the week of the game, the week after the game was our final one. So there's a lot of shared memories. And so I think that rush of just all those moments together hit a little bit, and there were some hugs and some goodbyes. And man, it's the reality of the business, Fitz. Like the truth is the majority of players that play this game, the overwhelming majority, don't get to choose when their time ends with an organization, even when their time ends in the NFL. I mean, it's about making the best out of what it is. And you can tell that Cooper is not excited in the sense of to have to leave. He's excited about the new journey ahead of him, about what's in front of him with the Seattle Seahawks. But he's sad to leave a place that meant so much to him and a bunch of people that love him so much. And you can tell those emotions, man, when you get a chance to see somebody going through them. It reminds you how fragile this game really is, man. You can be at the highest of highs and the lowest of lows really quickly in this game in a lot of different ways. And one of those is the fact that you have to move on to an organization you didn't think you'd ever, have to move on in your entire career from.
Yeah. And he's got a great example to look at, which is you of, having a great career in Cincinnati, moving on and having a second act to your career in LA and everything that brought you and the success. And now, like, imagine your life without ever playing for the Rams. It's just
it's crazy.
It's crazy to think about. But with Cooper, we all know what an amazing player he is. Triple Crown winner, Offensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl MVP, all those different things that he brought to you guys and the successes and the amazing things he did on the field. But when I look at this move to Seattle, You look at a coach that came in last year, Mike McDonald, who's trying to reset the culture. He wants to make it his way. Well, guess what? On offense, Geno's now gone.
Yep.
DK Metcalf's gone. Tyler Lockett is gone. And so bringing in Sam Darnold and bringing in Cooper, this is their chance to hit reset. And you can talk more on this than me, but what a wonderful dude to bring in as an example of this is how we work. This is what a professional looks like. And I'm excited to see the combination of him and Sam and what happens on the field. But there's going to be so much that he does off the field to help set that culture, to help those guys understand what it takes to win a championship. And those are the things that the fans aren't really going to see, but us being in those buildings know what an important piece he's going to be in setting that culture in Seattle.
He is. And watching them work out every day at our gym, I really got to realize that. And I think for me, sitting there watching him teach Puka and Higbee and all those guys, all the little ins and outs of how he runs routes and what he's thinking about in breaks and how he sees breaks. And if he's going to try to break people down, here's the rhythm that he wants to do it with. Here's the body lean, the knee bend, all the little things he goes into detail about. And just listening to him share that information, you realize two things. One, wow, the Rams are going to miss this guy in their locker room. And then two, man, how great of a gift Seattle's about to get. And I think of Jackson Smith and Jigba, already a great player. But all those little nuances and the style that Coop plays with and the ability he has to go in there and get physical as a blocker as well. What an example he's going to be. And you brought up the similarity. I do think of my transition from Cincinnati to LA because you think of what Coop's going to bring. It's a lot of the things that really the whole reason the Rams brought me out here were for. And that is not just the level of play, but the consistency of who you are on a day in and day out basis as a human being. I think Cooper will have that opportunity. But when you look at this situation in Seattle, Fitz, it really comes down to this. Do you want Geno Smith and DK Metcalf versus Cooper Kupp, Sam Darnold, a second and third round pick, and about $10 million in savings? I think you would say that even though you say, oh, man, Seattle's resetting somehow, they're getting rid of great players, and even Tyler Lockett's gone, that's a pretty good trade, I think, in the sense of what they're going to do, especially with Clint Kubiak being the guy and the system they're going to be under. I think that they both fit that really well. I think the one thing that concerns me, they've done nothing with the offensive line. And that was the biggest problem last year when they had to drop back and throw it. Geno Smith had zero opportunities to hold the ball at all. And so you look in the Saints last year, they started the season hot as can be, offensively running the football, play actions, throwing all these bombs. That's great. As soon as they got back in the drop back game, things changed a lot for them. Will they be able to address that offensive line in the draft? That's going to be a huge thing for Seattle Seahawks. But I'm going to tell you what, they got the right dude coming in that building in Cooper Kupp for the rest of it.
Yeah, you sound like a Dolphins fan there for a second, not addressing the offensive line.
Yeesh. Don't get me started.
All right, Whit, here he is, Mr. Sam Schwartzstein. Now, right before we came on here, you adjusted your screen to show. Is that an Emmy in the back there?
That's a team Emmy right there. One of two that we got as a Thursday Night Football crew.
That's my guy.
Okay, that's huge. So Sam, we got to meet him doing Thursday Night Football. Andrew Luck used to put his hands on Sam's butt quite a bit in college.
We've seen some action videos of Sam.
We have. We've seen some great action videos, but I don't know, Sam, that we've met a guy more passionate about rules and implementing analytics and technology. So we wanted to bring you in to talk to you about the owners meeting and some of these rule changes that happen. Let's start off with the kickoff, because I know this is your baby. Can you give us a little history just on the genesis of the kickoff and then what happened at the league meetings?
Yeah, so kickoff was one of the most dangerous plays. Also, thanks for having me on, boys. I'm a huge beardo. That's the nickname I gave the fans of the Fitz Whit podcast.
But, wow.
Yeah, look at the best beards in football. So what started as a kickoff was the most dangerous play. And you saw over the past 20 years, there's been a lot of rule changes to make it less injury focused. And that was largely to let's influence touchbacks, whether it's moving the kicker up, moving the touchback incentive up to make it so that kickers can kick touchbacks so we don't have as many injuries. I spent time at the XFL working on a rule change that could still have returns, but also limit the amount of high-speed collisions or high-velocity impact plays is what we called them, to reduce concussions. And it worked. We had a 92% return rate. The NFL liked it. Around 4 years later, they implemented something similar, now known as that dynamic kickoff, much better naming than I called it the low impact kickoff. And people are like, well, what is this?
You were specific.
I was trying to be very focused on it. Dynamic is always funny because nobody's moving. So why is it dynamic? But the kickoff starts the players where the ball is caught. That is where the players normally lined up. So if you watched a bunch of kickoffs and paused it on where it was caught, coverage team would be the 35, return team would be at the 30, and that's where those guys would end up meeting. So why not just start the play there? NFL's done a bunch of things to kind of adapt the rule to fit what they want to do in the NFL style. Last year, they were going to have the touchback at the 35. Day before the owners' meetings, the coaches moved it to the 30. Now, after we saw results that it was a great play, people had fun utilizing strategy, the touchback is now going to the 35, which will hopefully influence more returns.
How cool is that the NFL now has something and they've implemented something that you came up with?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. My wife loves to watch it, and like we root for every team now. I said the Commanders are our number one team with Zach Ertz, but other than that, like we're just rooting for dynamic touchdowns. So it's pretty fun to be able to see that and be able to, like, when we had Laviska Shenault, which is a kid from Dallas area where I'm from, he returned a touchdown on Thursday Night Football. That was like a crazy moment for me to do like a full circle. So it's awesome to see what they're doing and they're continually improve upon it.
Sam, let me say this. Like, people are going to see, all right, the kickoff's getting moved from the 30 to the 35, and they're going to go, well, what's the difference? But correct me if I'm wrong here. There is a huge jump in the percentage of, or I should say the percentage chances of an offense scoring points when you go from really where it used to be a touchback's 25, you go to the 30. I think the significance wasn't as much, but if you went to the 35, there's a massive jump there and the opportunity for the other team, if they start at the 35, to go score points. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a huge deal. I mean, 2 first downs, you're in plus 45 territory. That is where the first time you're more likely to score than not. And so a lot of football-minded people, you're basing your process on how close we get to that spot. Now, 1 first down at the 35, now you're at your own 45. The world's your oyster. Some teams won't even punt from there from now on because you're getting an opportunity to then go to that plus 45. So there is a huge deal on what that first down, because I think it's the average drives or plays per drive is around 4. And so you have this opportunity where if you can get that first down, it's a completely different mindset of going from the 30 to the 40. I think another big factor is the out of bounds kick or the kicks that don't make it to the landing zone. That penalty is still only the minus 40. And so you're going to see a lot of more unique kicking styles where you're trying to have the ball hit the ground first, because in the dynamic kickoff version in the NFL, that's when the plays start. I had a 3-second pause because they didn't want to influence that. But from what I've heard from the coaches, they want more creativity in kicking styles. And so now there's going to be more incentive to see those line drive kicks or unique style kicks, which will create a lot of chaos in the back end.
What about the onside kick deal? Do you think it mattered? Like I think they at least put it up to vote. Like, should we be able to do it and announce it earlier? But that got shot down. But you think that matters at all to take that out of the game for the first 3 quarters? Personally,
I do. I think it's something they should revisit at some point. I had an onside kick at any time. Also, for extremely windy games, if you can't make it to the landing zone, I would just tell my coaches, if you don't think you can make it, just onside kick it, But another part of it is we want to be able to see these comebacks, and there shouldn't be a restriction. If you're down 3 scores, mercy rule in Madden, if you're down, the Chiefs should have been able to do an onside kick, right? But because the way that they scored timing-wise, it was before the quarter break, that makes it a little bit like, what are we doing here? But the NFL, they have their ways. They have an amazing data team that's analyzing all these things. It probably affects 1 game a year of around a 300 games. So, maybe not the most important rule to change.
Yeah, and the second one coming in, Sam, is really about something that was already changed in the playoffs, but obviously allowing both teams to possess the ball in overtime, even if the first team scores a touchdown. Now, there was also a vote about 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Tell us how that really affects things in the regular season.
Yeah, it's a really weird rule because overtime we don't see too much of it, and so there's a ton of overtime research that you can try and do, different styles of overtime. In the regular season, under the old rule, it was about a 50-50 win rate plus the ties. So there wasn't actually in regular season a need to change it. But we saw in the playoffs, before they changed it to after what happened to the Bills-Chiefs game, one of the best games we ever saw, we saw that in the playoffs, when the teams were much better on offense, they won 9 of 10 opportunities in that overtime style. So, hey, let's bring that to the regular season. Well, you didn't really need to because it's still 50-50 win rate when you're looking at every possible team. These are even mesh teams. What was funny is last year, huge swing the other way. So the teams that went first, they overwhelmingly won. And so now it's a recency bias of over time when we have this changed. But football is such a hard sport to do rule changes for because you can't really include a ton of data from previous years because the rules change every year and new offensive styles come in, right? We have more teams pass in the red zone. There's old clips of Andy Reid where he was the only coach that actually passed more often than ran in the red zone, and people called him crazy. So it's really hard to use so much data to evaluate trends in football because the rules change so much. But I think it's great. When you're looking at overtime rule changes, when I was at the XFL, our fans told us, don't make it more dangerous of a game. And so no matter what rule I did, it can make it as equally as dangerous, but I can't make it more dangerous. I think by going to 10 minutes, it might be better to go first because now you have the information advantage if both teams score. If it's a touchdown score each way, it still might not. There's not enough data for me to really understand what the best version is, just like playoff overtime. I didn't understand, but with that 10-minute cutoff, knowing that we're not going another quarter break after, you might be able to end with the ball if you go second. So that's more important.
Interesting. Okay, two things. As you were saying all of that, I was interested, but also the black shirt. I feel like that's your look. Are you kind of going for a villain look?
A friend of mine, Dan Katz, kind of laid this on me where he said, if you're not losing weight, just start wearing black. And so I wear that everywhere I go. I have
Fitz.
I have no decision-making process in my life. I wear the same black shirt, and no free ads, but built shirt. If you're for the big guys out there listening, I wear a shirt every day, and I wear a pair of black joggers or black shorts every single day.
I love that philosophy. Hey, look, Fitz was picked 250 in the draft that he was in, so he decided his whole entire life he was just going to be 250. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's kind of the reverse. It's kind of the reverse. It's the reverse of wearing the number of where you were picked. It's kind of a different philosophy.
I'm never going to hit 250. That's my goal.
I got a back number on Monday. When you guys met me, I was 235. I saw 264 at the doctor's office on Monday. It said it's time for a change.
You can never hit that bad number if you don't weigh yourself in. That's my philosophy. I know that you're very passionate about this one now, that the Hawkeye technology, the first downs, the not elimination, but the chain gang is not as important as they used to be. It seems like this should have happened earlier. What took so long to implement this, and why is it not as easy as people think?
Yeah, so what the Hawkeye technology will do will simulate the action of the chain crew running onto the field for a measurement, which we have very few measurements now in football. You'll look with a very keen eye. If a team gets on 1st and 10 on their own 30, well, I guess let's do this 35 now, and they get 11.5 yards, you're going to start at the 37. You're not going to, or the 47. You're not going to start anymore on like that half-yard line area. So you see fewer measurements because you always know I'm measuring from a yard line. So it's just something that officials do. You'll see it throughout the game. See it less in the playoffs. So we don't see that many measurements. But on the top of it, we're only replacing that endpoint where you take the chains out and measure. So the ball will be placed on the field. You'll have it shot from 6 to 8 cameras in stadium, and you'll triangulate where the ball is. Everyone will clear out so we can see the ball clearly, no occlusions, and we'll tell you whether you got the first down or not. It's a little bit different because you're still not getting, does the player have possession changed by technology? Is the player down changed by technology? Is the player down by contact changed by technology? And something that we had in our game was, when was the whistle? If you remember in the Black Friday football game, all that commotion happening was, even though we have video of the guy making the motion before the ball was snapped, we actually don't have the whistle associated with that same data stream. So when you're looking at, hey, can we replace everything with it? Yes, there's still a chip in the ball. That's not being used for this measurement. All these different pieces is you have to change a lot of the mechanics and the technology on the field of the officials for us to make a truly automated process. But, there'll still likely be a cool graphic animation like they do in tennis for whether they got the first down, because we're going to lose that anticipation of us measuring with chains.
My question to you is, if we can see on video when a player's knee goes down, can we pause the video and get a sense with the chip in the ball or whatever with where exactly the ball is at that moment that the knee goes down?
Yeah, so the way I was building it at the XFL was to use universal time code, which or I'm going to use UTC for short, or also be taking
UTC.
a while.
Whit, it's UTC. You know,
I don't know what any of that means. I went to LSU. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so we have a time stream, and we want to sync up all the cameras, the data feed, and everything. Now, these are minute problems, and I hope your beardos love listening to this, but like the data stream from the football comes at 10 frames per second versus the video stream comes at 24 or 30 frames per second. So it's not going to be exact on the video every time. We might be an in-between step. Some of the crazy defensive vulnerability prototypes, those are some of the things I sent you, were doing a little bit of that crazy stuff. And then we have to sync that up. And then we have to know the chip in the ball right now is really good because it's low battery usage, but it doesn't have a gyroscope in it. So we know the football.
LBU, right?
No,
LBU, low battery usage.
Yeah,
LBU.
No gyroscopes.
I'm going to use a prop.
UTC LBU.
The front of the ball is here right now.
Okay.
Yep.
Now you'd shift it. The front of the ball moved. Right? So you need to know orientation of the ball. And so, yes, you have to put it from the video. You couldn't do it without a gyroscope scope in the football to be able to know the yaw of the football, which is, you have the X, Y, and yaw, or no, but whatever, XYZ data. So you need that shift upwards. It's this one.
So what we're saying is it's not as easy as people are making it sound, essentially.
UTIs, gyroscopes, all that
UTIs. UTIs.
Isn't that what we said? Right. Is that not what we were talking about?
Sam, now that we're talking about UTIs. All right, this is the last question, and we're going to let you go. Thank you for joining us. I know.
Is this about you being a dick?
No.
This question?
No. How long have you been married now, Sam?
8 months. I think
8 months.
8 months.
Okay. So let's just say
newlyweds.
Let's just say coming up, at some point, God willing, there's a baby. We'll see. I want you to answer this question that I posed to Jason.
This
Kelsey.
is about you being a dick. This is your post.
No,
on
it's
X.
just a question.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you think is easier? A season worth of tush pushes or having a baby?
So
answer wisely. You're a newlywed.
I definitely think it's the season worth of tush pushes.
Do you know how much of a grind it is, all those tush pushes?
You're in a lot of trouble.
So I did a similar play in college called 64 lead dive, which, no disrespect to Jason Kelsey, much better at football than I was. But what we would do is we'd hand it off to the back, but our two up backs would jump over the top and meet the defenders jumping over the top. So as the center, I shot out 4-point. I'm not taking any steps, shoot out, and then I would just fall on the ground. And then Josh Garnett would land on top of me. And that was actually, I think, more difficult than the tush push. But it was a little different.
Wow, I like this.
Yeah, so yeah, I would say maybe that might be harder than pregnancy. But no.
Wow.
We can edit that out.
We could definitely take that out for you.
Yeah. All right, Sam, thanks for coming on,
you're the best, dude.
Yep, got yourself in trouble, but we'll be good to go. Amazon will be happy, just not your wife. So.
That was Kelly. I love you.
All right. See you, dude. Thank you. All right, Whit. I was going to call this segment Lord Have Mercy. I feel like you being from the South. You could say it better than me.
Lord have mercy.
There we go. All right, let me set this up for you. So Tate is 16. So he signed up for a basketball league. It was, high school kids. So he likes to do the broadcasting and announcing stuff. There's like a video and media club at his school and a class. And so you could imagine maybe the athleticism involved in a lot of the kids in the video and media club.
Yeah, exactly.
But they put together a 9-person basketball team and they joined rec league. Really excited. Tate, I would say, is a average to maybe a little above average rec league player in high school. Really enjoys playing. He's a sophomore and was going to be one of the better players on the team. And so they had their first game.
What, we got a victory? What's up?
So Tate came home. He said, good news, bad news. Good news is, Dad, I had 14 points. We scored 35. That part of it was good. I didn't know I'd score that many. It was fun. Bad news, Dad. The other team had 138 points.
Shut up.
They lost 138-35. And when I had him explain it to me.
How's that possible?
So they joined an adult men's league and there wasn't any room in the lower level. So now they're now on the highest level in the adult men's league. These guys are guys that played in college or played semi-pro in Europe. There's a 6'8" guy they were calling Kareem because he made a sky hook every time he touched the ball. And it wasn't just that they were better than the BBN, Basha Bears News team, the BBN Skitballs, what they call themselves. This other team, I think they were called the Firing Squad.
Clearly.
they treated every possession like it was Game 7 of the NBA Finals. They were up 100 points, and they were still pressing, Andrew. They were still pressing these poor little kids.
It feels like they probably just want to send a message at this point.
Yes, I think so. But like at what point? At what point does the mercy rule kick in? At what point do you pull the press off? At what point do you start feeling bad for these sophomores and juniors in high school? You're beating them by 100 points. Do you think the firing squad was in the wrong, or do you think it was okay because they're just out there getting some burn? They're getting their run in.
Listen, if it's an adult men's league, this is their night. Like, this is the time for them to go and shine. They're trying to live their best. But at some point you pull it off the press. You kind of lay back. Let's just shoot some threes, see how far we can make shots from, have a little fun maybe, because it's not serious. It's not for real. That's tough. I don't even know what you gain from that playing in that experience. Maybe let's go try pickleball, Tate. It might be,
Yeah, I think BBN Skitball should try some pickleball. But
let's try some pickleball maybe.
So I wrote down their next 4 opponents. You tell me how many wins you see in the next 4 opponents here.
All right.
They're playing the back 5 bullies.
Loss.
That could be tough. Straight hooping.
Okay, no chance.
Blue ballers with a Z.
I got a lot of questions there.
Yeah, and then this last one.
So do they give people blue balls, or are they getting blue balls? I'm very confused. I don't know. That one's a weird name. I got a lot of questions. Anyways, who's next?
Well, the last one, I could tell you they have no chance. Dark Thunder.
Yeah.
That one could get
I'm not seeing a lot of victories here. But listen, pickleball kind of evens the game a little bit. Okay. It takes a little bit of the athleticism away, and now it gets down to technique. So let's get into some pickleball. We don't have any 6'8", hook shot guys we got to worry about.
Yeah. So Brady, my oldest, is 6'5", and he was like, Dad, the whole team was bigger than Brady. Like they were. So
yeah,
I got to go to one of these. They play on Sunday nights at like a local high school, but I can't wait to go and check it out.
Let's try a different sport.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the next topic that I don't know if I was ashamed that you use this term, but it's one of those things that's a pet peeve for me.
Okay.
When people use the term "my guy."
Okay.
Okay. So I just feel like, and I'm going to let you defend yourself here in a second.
I'm going to use it all the time now that you've told me about it.
Oh my! If you start calling me my guy, that's up there with like you dyeing your beard.
I've said it 3 times on the podcast already, just because of it.
But so I see it. The only place I really see it is on Twitter. I don't know how much like people are actually saying this in person, although now you're going to refer to me as my guy every time you talk to me. So DeMarco Farr is not happy about this Shield Award. Is that what this was about?
Yeah, I guess on ESPN, local LA radio, he, went after the Shield Award idea because I think Sam Farmer wrote an article in LA Times about at the league meetings and, having some meetings about that.
Okay. So when you responded to him with a my guy, that was like, okay, look, you've stepped over the line, you're being disrespectful, I'm going to be disrespectful back to you? Or what's the purpose of the my guy?
Well, it was like he said something like, I love Whit, but hey, shut up about this award, stop trying to make awards for you fat guys, basically, you fat guys. And listen, we can get into some data points if we want, but I've run into a lot more D linemen retired that are overweight than O linemen. Let's just put it that way. But also, it's like he made my argument for me. His entire rant was about how there's already an offensive player of the year and a defensive player of the year. And then he went on this rant about how Trent Williams was without question the offensive player of the year a couple of years ago, easily could have won the award, but other guys had better stats. So that's why he didn't win it. And I was like, no, you just literally made the argument. That's why we don't have a chance to win Offensive Player of the Year or Defensive Player of the Year, which D linemen do win and have won because they have stats. So there's no offensive lineman stats. So my point is, it's the only position that doesn't have an award they can actually win. So we want to create an award that gives some recognition to a obviously very important part. If you just look across the spectrum of all the teams that have been successful, great offensive lines. And so that's all the point of the award is. I don't know why D lineman cares. They get all the credit in the world.
But was it the
my guy? No, the my guy is like listen, my guy is one of those terms, Fitz, that can be used a lot of different ways. Like you could say my guy in a tone of like, no, my guy, like you love somebody.
It was not in that tone.
You can say my guy in a term is like, yo, bro, like watch what you're saying. And that was more the term that
Okay.
I was using because he kind of made the fat guy comment. And also a D lineman talking about this, Fitz. If you want to talk about an overpaid, overblown statistical position, there is none bigger than that one, because I have watched edge rushers who play with great guys like Aaron Donald or great guys like Geno Atkins or vice versa, all across the league. There's all kinds of guys that they've benefited from playing with another great player. So statistically, they end up with a lot of sacks and they get paid a lot of money, and they go somewhere and they absolutely suck and are garbage. The reality is offensive linemen that are good and they stay good. But D linemen can get overpaid off production right and left all across the league every year. There's an edge rusher who's zero contribution to rushing the passer, and he got overpaid because he had 1 year where statistically he had some numbers. And most of the time it came from other things. Heavy blitz team, lots of unblocked situations, playing a really bad player, all those things. So for me, like when a D lineman's going to talk about awards, get out of here. You
My
guys, get out of here, my guy. All right?
Wow.
Calm down.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So he obviously struck a nerve with the fat guy thing.
Overpaid position in the league.
Overpaid. I get it. Okay. So this is going to lead me. I wrote down a bunch of questions because we haven't seen each other for a while that I wanted to ask you. This leads me to another question because this sure seems like this is what you were alluding to. I was trying to think of names for this segment, and I thought Intera Fitz was awful. What's the Fitzuation? I don't know. Riddle me Fitz is what I came up with. That's the leader in the clubhouse right now. But I'm going to skip ahead to one of my questions since we're talking about it right now and guys being overvalued and overpaid.
Okay.
There's 3 contract situations I'm looking at right now that are pretty sticky. I want you to give me the most sticky of these 3. Micah Parsons, James Cook, and Trey Hendrickson. And since you just said that all defensive ends are overvalued and overpaid,
I didn't say all.
Which of
don't
the
put those
3
words.
do you think is stickiest?
I didn't say all. I said, and this is my true belief if I was building a football team, this is a fact. Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, TJ Watt. There's a few guys out there that I'd put in a category. There's more than that. But there's some guys I'd put in a category that I'd go, hey, whatever I'm paying them, the production is out of this world. So not just whether they get sacks, but the down in and down out pressure they apply on defense, I'm paying those guys. There is a large majority of guys who get paid a lot of money that I would never touch because I would rather have 4 guys that can rotate, 2 starters and 2 guys on my edges that can come in the game, be fresh, and that have some traits that could give people problems and keep those guys rotating in and out of the game, playing with great effort and technique. Then I would pay a lot of money to a lot of these guys that are just mediocre rushers, because as a left tackle who did it for a really long time, I love playing those guys. I call those guys my opportunity to make more money because they're going to get paid money and they're not very good. And that's how I got to stay for 16 years, because when I play the great ones, listen, there's going to be wins and losses, and your ability to kind of keep those guys off the quarterback to some degree and do your job against them is going to get you paid money. But man, when you dominate the guys who are overpaid and have no reason to be out there, that's how you get paid a lot of money. And so I would say Micah Parsons in that category if he's a rare freaking dude. So I'm paying him what it takes because of his impact, not just in statistics, but the way he plays, the attitude he has about being successful. You heard him last year, the second half of the season, the impact he had on that defense of really driving them. I'm paying Micah Parsons. I don't think that's that sticky because you're not letting a great player like that go. And if you are, somebody else is paying him a tons of money. James Cook, same situation. Too good of a football player. That might get sticky for a second, but it's going to get worked out. Trey Hendrickson's the one I'm going to say is definitely the stickiest, Fitz, because you're talking about a guy who's up there in age. He's over 30. You've had a lot of production, but you kind of had years in New Orleans where you're a role guy, and all of a sudden you're a starter in Cincy. You have a lot of success. He's had some great seasons, but you're getting up there in age and you're on a team where, man, we've kind of invested the money on who we think is our future, and do you fit or not? And so that's a tough situation, not to mention Katie Blackburn already made some comments a week ago that got him stirred up. So now we're not happy with each other, and we're in a situation where he thinks he deserves a certain number And I don't know if the Bengals are going to give it to him.
That's what I wanted to point out with all three of these situations. Micah Parsons, Jerry Jones, comments going back and forth, comments about his agent, not knowing who he was.
Acting like you don't know who David is. Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay. And then obviously the comments, and Trey Hendrickson is kind of trying to take the high road, but some of the stuff coming out with Katie Blackburn. And then to me, the James Cook situation gets pretty sticky because it's already been noted that they offered him what they thought he deserved. He didn't do it. And then the Bills extended a bunch of other people this offseason, extending their own, keeping him in-house. James Cook doesn't have a whole lot of power right now on what he can do other than not show up for the offseason. And then once training camp hits, show up, tweak his back, sit out for a while, have a tight hamstring, whatever it is. And I don't know the kind of guy he is or isn't. I don't know. He's been great for the Bills. So then that touches on like Josh Allen's leadership and what he's going to be able to get James to do versus not do, and keeping a team together and keeping players happy. But it's like we had the devaluing of the running back position. And then in the last few years, especially this last year, it was like, wait a minute, look at these guys and how important they are. And with, the cover 2 shell and the league getting smaller, all of a sudden running backs are having a bigger impact on the game right now than they've had in the last 5-10 years. So James Cook scores all those touchdowns that last year. He drives your offense last year. I think it's tough for both sides. James Cook's probably going to be able to go somewhere else to get more money, but does he still want to remain a Buffalo Bill for a little bit of a discount? Those are the things that are sticky and difficult and gross.
This feels less about the sticky contract and more about your Buffalo Bills. I feel like,
I know. I want James Cook to be happy.
You're concerned. You want him happy.
I just want him to be happy, man. I just do. And, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But speaking of being happy, this one really pissed me off. I would love to get your take on this.
Okay.
So sweet Maisie, 12 years old. Yeah, Maze plays a lot of soccer. She's got her soccer team was in a tournament, and for every tournament, they take a photo. The people walk around with the photos of the team.
She didn't get in the photo?
No, okay. Even worse. So sometimes it's smiley, and sometimes they do the serious one back-to-back with the arms crossed, or a goofy one. Well, they start coming around with a photo, and I'm looking at it, and what is different? This looks weird. So 12 years old, a bunch of these girls have braces, right? Let's say there's 16 girls on the team, 8 have braces. So the photographer took it upon him or herself to remove all the braces from the girls in the photo.
What?
Just so the girls, no braces, just shiny white teeth.
Yeah, I was about to say, so what you just put in, like fake white teeth on everybody?
But like what? So what's your take on that? A photographer taking liberties to take 12-year-old girls and take the braces off.
I would put that in a very weird, creepy category. I don't really understand. Like, they're kids. Like, the braces is a part of life at that age, and they are who they are. And to me, it like adds character. All our kids right now are rocking the braces looks, other than Catherine, because she's not old enough yet. But you know what? It makes them, which, Sarah just got hers off here recently. And I don't know. To me, that just screams kid, and like the stages of life, right? The acne, the braces.
I want to know how they look in that moment.
Yeah, like that's what you want. You want to remind them of
story.
That. Yes.
And so the biggest issue, you kind of look at it, you laugh it off, whatever. But then it's like, the more I think about it, the more it makes me upset, because you've got these 12-year-old girls. Yeah. Which, like, they're developing their confidence. They're starting to worry about their self-image.
And you're making them think about it.
Like, so now you're making them think, well, you're not as beautiful because you have braces on. And then it's like, okay, well, who's making these decisions? Like, somebody with freckles, that we're going to start airbrushing those out of the 12-year-old girl photos. Like, it was not okay, Whit.
I don't like it. You're making them self-conscious. I mean, it's like, being a dad and all of a sudden wearing dark T-shirts, because you don't want to work out.
I love that Sam only wears black T-shirts. That is hilarious. But yeah, I didn't love that one. Had not experienced that before.
I don't like that
figured
either.
We'd be on the same page there. The thing I'll say about braces, though, I think when we were growing up, brace face, kids get made fun of, whatever. And now it's like, if you don't have them, you feel left out.
That's the norm.
Everybody's got braces now. All right, so let's see. Okay, another one I got to talk to you about.
I feel like you got a lot of beef with me this week, but okay.
Well, we haven't seen. We haven't really been able to talk about this stuff in 2 weeks. So, you blasting videos of your leg work.
Okay, that's an exaggeration again.
Well, I'm just saying, couple of questions here. One, at first I squinted. I thought it was JJ Watt putting out the videos, but then I realized it was you.
Here we go.
So how much weight are you actually squatting these days? Why are you continuing to squat heavyweight?
That's actually funny for multiple things. One, our trainer, Ryan Sorensen, actually filmed.
Who's our you and JJ? Or
that's funny. At the Village Athlete Training Grounds, our trainer there that trains Cooper and Puka and all of us is a guy named Ryan Sorensen. And then he trains me and Sean McVay every morning. Sean McVay and I train like 5:30, 6 a.m. every single morning together. And so Ryan trains us. Well, he was making some comments about like, man, dude, you're like losing weight. You're looking good. Like you're killing this weight. And so him and Sean were laughing about it. And then next thing I know, he like I didn't even actually know he filmed the squat. And then he did Sean too. He never told either one of us that he had this film, and he posted it that day. So like Sean and I are talking about something else. And the next thing I know, I get like a text like, whoa, you and Sean posting workout videos. I'm like, wait, what? And so I'll go on social media, and sure enough, Ryan had posted it on his own account, and it just blew up and went viral. And it was great. Then that led to some interactions, and obviously. So
was that with the Will Compton thing? Would that have been a my guy? Did you respond to him with my guy or no?
No, I responded to him with speaking of he made a comment that Sean McVay's squats looked really easy, and like the weight and the way that bar is and holding on, like that's super easy. Anybody could do this. So, I got to get my guys back. So I sent a video of me blocking him in London.
The best.
When I was with the Bengals, and just said, speaking of things that are easy. And so it was great. It was awesome. Will's a buddy. Like we like to have fun and we do that. My point with DeMarco, just to go back to the my guy comment, DeMarco does some media stuff with the Rams, obviously. So we know each other, but we ain't never rapped like that. I've never shot the shit with you like that. So like all of a sudden you told me to shut up.
Oh,
that's
now
a
there's
big
tension.
mistake.
Oh no.
And then two, you kind of made the fat guy comment, and like you're like about as wide as you are tall right now. So like I'm just trying to figure out like, what felt like an unnecessary comment. But I was gonna write back, Fitz, hey, you know what? I'll come on the show. Let's both do it shirtless, and let's see who says the fat guy is.
Stop it.
I didn't do that, but I was irritated. I was mad at the moment. I'm working out too much. I get excited.
Talking about your body though for a second here. Your ass in that photo, like I feel like you have no ass, but when you were squatting, that thing, even McAfee made a comment on it. Like, were you packing heat? What was going on? It looked like there was like an extra bubble in there.
Hey, listen, it's all I got some good glutes, man. What do you want me to say? It's really Fitz. It's the waistline's going down, so the other things look better. Just because your waistline's going down. So I should try
that. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, it helps. A lot of areas you gain.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're working on the legs still, because I'm going to need you, my guy. I'm going to need you. We are playing in Vegas next week in the 8 a.m. golf deal with Justin Timberlake. And I've talked about this for a few weeks. My game, I just haven't played it all. It's in shambles. I'm never going to pick up a club again. Brady beat me in Hawaii. I haven't even looked at a club. I haven't sniffed one. I'm going to need you to carry the squad in Vegas.
Hey, listen, here's the good part. It's a scramble. So
okay,
you get
so it's not a shamble, it's a scramble.
Well, actually, you know what? I think it is a shamble. So you're right. But listen, I'll hit the tee shots, and then we both get a chance to go down there and take our shot. Okay, so you're going to be fine. Listen, it's a short course. I'll go driver. We'll have some short shots in. Just work on your wedge game. That's all we need to work on. Wedge and putting.
Okay, I can do that. I can definitely putt.
Just dial that in.
Okay, and speaking of golf, here we go. It's Masters week, baby.
Yeah, baby.
So I've been going to the Masters since 2015. Very lucky, very fortunate. I get to spend that time with my dad, my brothers. Now my son, Brady, has earned the right to go. His first year was last year. We usually will do it in like a 3-day clip. But I know you've been out there as well. So I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite part of Augusta? Just you get to pick one thing. What's your favorite part?
I know this is going to shock people that actually do listen to our podcast, the very few that are out there, is that you and I probably do Augusta a little different. Okay. So
I would think so, but we'll see.
I'm going to guess that you're like a guy who goes out, you're setting up chairs, you're looking up the locations you're going to sit during the tournament.
Very much
doing
so.
The whole deal. You probably eat at the concession stands if you get hungry.
There's no doubt. Pimento, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So I've been to the Masters once. It was last year. It was the first time I'd ever gone. I have played Augusta once, but I've been to the Masters once as well. And listen, I'm going to be honest with you. The only thing I did is there's a place called Berkman's. Anybody that's gone about the Masters, it's a VIP section where basically only like members, and I think media partners can buy tickets to. It's super expensive, and it's air conditioned, and it's restaurants from like all over the world that they have there, and you can have the most insane spread of food. There's like
oysters, having your drinks.
Oysters. Last year there was like a chef from Italy that was like world renowned for making pizzas, and I was in the pro shop area getting all kinds of gear. They'll ship it home for you. It's kind of like a Disney World experience. You can buy all this memorabilia and then they ship it home for you. That's literally where I lived. I sat in the air conditioning. I walked out and maybe watched 4 holes. Okay.
What about the replica greens? Did you putt on the greens back there?
Oh, yeah. I did the replica greens. They got the nice putters. You can do that whole deal. And I actually probably watched 4 holes of live golf. I might as well have been in Idaho. Okay. So that was my Masters experience. This year, I was going to go back. I was just trying to find a ticket to Berkman's. So I was like, listen, I don't even need a ticket to get to the grounds. All I want to do is go sit in this area, eat really good food, make one pass through the golf course, because that's what I did last year. I'm just going to walk one time around it, kind of just get a glance, see some people, shake some hands, kiss some babies, pass out pins. And I'm going right back to Berkman's. I'm going to sit in the air conditioning and I'm going to eat a bunch of good food. And that's basically what I like to do for the Masters. I mean, that's my experience. I don't think that ours is very similar.
It's not. I have had the privilege of going in there. Here's my deal, Whit. I'm waking up at 5:30. You know why? Because I've got to get to the line outside the property, because at 7 a.m. those gates are opening. And I have a lot of people depending on me. And here's why. At the Masters, yes, they have grandstands, but they have the chairs you can put down too, right? Now, it's a very specific chair. It can't have an armrest. It's got to be collapsible. It can't be rigid, and you're only allowed to bring in one. When you're going through security, make sure you take it out of the bag, because they want it out of the bag. They don't want to get just the side-eyed look entering the Masters. You put it through security. You get through. You have your chair, and that's where the fun begins, because there's no running. It's speed walking. And this is something you're never going to get to experience at the Masters, which you just don't have the want to. So then from there, you have a strategy, and usually it's me and 4 or 5 other people. Now we're competing against professional runners here. You know what that means? That means companies like UPS and FedEx and Merrill Lynch, they're hiring kids to get in there to put these chairs down in specific spots in order for them to wake up just like you at 10 a.m., have a nice little breakfast, and roll out to the ground.
Now that sounds fun. I need to partner up with these people.
Well, I'm out there competing. I'm competing with these runners. They're professional runners. They're training for it all year long. And
no
I'm in the middle
phones,
of
so
it.
no communicating, right? You
No
can't like
phones,
say, hey,
no
go
communication.
grab,
Night before, you got to make up your plan. Now at 7 a.m., the gates open, but you just get to the next checkpoint. Now, when you're at the next checkpoint, you're waiting in line again for probably 30 minutes. You can veer off to the right and buy as many chairs as you want. So when I talk about training, Andrew, I'm not training to look good. I'm not training, well, obviously, I'm not training for a comeback or men's rec basketball league. I'm training my shoulders all year long to carry 16 chairs, 8 in each arm, like this. Because you're walking and you're shaking and you're holding them and you're waiting in line. And then the fun begins. 7:30 about is when they'll then release you from the second section, because all the grounds crew has completed, placing the flags and blowing the leaves and doing the deal. And so then it's like full on pushing and shoving. And if it's wet, they put down the kitty litter just so no one's slipping. And you got to have your plan. Where are you putting your chairs? Where are you going to put them Thursday? Is that different than Saturday? Wow, what about Friday? What if somebody's going to miss the cut? And Sunday, where do you want to be? These are all things that I get to experience that you don't. You're never going to get one of these, okay? This is the Masters Gnome. They started giving these things out in 2016. This is a hot item, and it's one that you can't get if you sleep in.
That's
and
awesome.
So maybe if you're nice to me and you stop calling me my guy, I may get you a Master's Gnome this year.
Will you give me a Master's Gnome? That'd be awesome.
I might.
That would be great. Listen, hold on. Here's my question, though. Do they check? So you can't come in with a phone. What about Apple Watches and stuff like that?
You can have an Apple Watch. Yes, you can have an Apple Watch. That's like the sneaky get you by.
A lot of people go Apple Watches.
There's some Apple Watches. They also just have the old school payphones.
I'm going to guess Josh Allen will be rocking an Apple Watch. I've seen that's his technique on the golf course.
So Josh also he'll steal your wristwatch. That's one of his tricks he's been doing since he was a kid. So you got to be careful with the watch around him.
Ooh.
So I'll ask you this, since you're just a Berkman's guy, have you ever had the Georgia peach ice cream sandwich?
I have not had that. I need to check that out.
When I tell you it might be the greatest treat I've ever had in my entire life.
Okay.
You need to, next time you go this year, whenever, the Georgia peach ice cream sandwich is incredible.
All right. I'm in. I'm all about that. I love an ice cream sandwich.
Shocker. We experience the Masters in a different way.
Again, I'm just waiting on the pizzas at Berkman's, but I'll watch on the TV.
All right. And finally, the moment you've all been waiting for. Welcome to round 1 of the first annual Fitz and Whit mock draft. No, it's not about prospects. It's about coaches this year, and it's about who you would want to go to dinner with. I'm going to give you the first pick in the draft. I'll take the second. You take the third. I'll go fourth. You'll go fifth, and I'll go last.
Is this current, dead or alive? Like what? Like, is it like used to be a coach?
Let's go current coaches, just so we can narrow the scope a little bit.
Okay, just current NFL coaches.
Screw that. I'm actually going to go first. We're not going to do it that way because I don't want your friend to get mad at you. I'm going to take Sean McVay with my number 1 pick.
It's cool.
I want to take Sean.
Some bullshit.
Because, I didn't want to put the pressure on you. And
I wasn't going to choose him, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, shoot. That's a waste of a draft pick. No, I'm curious with Sean. Like, if me and him had a one-on-one dinner, there's a couple questions I would have. First of all, I'd be very excited because he's going to look immaculate. The dress is going to be great. It's going to be whatever's in, whatever's trendy. The hair is going to be perfect. He's going to come in with a bunch of energy.
He's improved the dress over the years, Fitz. I think the first 3 years, he wore the same exact thing every time he went to dinner.
I saw, the coach's photo thing, and when they do the, Kyle Brandt and whoever else, when they analyze it, like they've noticed too that Sean obviously now doesn't dress himself.
He's upgraded. Yeah. He used to wear the same blue sports coat every single time we went to dinner.
Yeah. My concerns are this, though. Can me and him talk about anything but football? Like, is he just going to be all football all the time? And maybe I'll try to veer in a different direction, and it's always going to circle back to football. That would be my number 1 concern, which, look, I don't mind talking football. I would love to pick his brain about it, but I would like to go to different topics as well. And then can we get over the only talking about you because you're our mutual friend and that's an easy topic? And then secondly, and you'll have better insight than me on this one, will he at least reach for the check? Like, I'm paying, right? I'm going to invite him, but is it assumed that I'm paying? Will he reach?
No,
Sean will try to pay. He'll do the get up and go to the bathroom and give the waitress the credit card deal.
No, I think he'll just straight up ask for it. Actually, he'll probably be talking when the check comes and won't realize that it's there. And you'll go to pay it and he'll take it back and be like, I'm paying. That's probably what's going to happen.
But then I could be like, well, I'm older.
Or he may never even notice that you paid the check and then go, wait, are we done? It's going to be one of those type things.
Okay, so you're welcome. I picked Sean McVay first. I think we'd have a great time. Who's your first pick?
Well, I mean, having played for Sean McVay in the Los Angeles Rams, I think I've been to dinner with like 7 of the NFL head coaches. So because they all were with us at one point with the Rams. So I got to go outside that whole area. I'm going to go some different places, I think. So my first pick, I think it's going to be a guy that I have faced a bunch in the NFL. And I just think after seeing him at the NFL owners meeting, at the league meetings, I'm like the biggest Pete Carroll fan on the planet. The dude looks like he never ages. He's got the same juice and energy every day in every room he walks in. I just want to go to dinner with Pete and have just tell me about life, Pete. I just want to listen to Pete talk about life and what's important and how he's, what he gets his joy from and his day. Because I just think the dude is one of the most interesting guys that's been in our game, because you look at his impact and what it was in Seattle, at USC, along the way in his career, the success he's had. And then, as soon as the Raiders hired him, you're like, man, I know one thing. the culture, the attitude, the energy of that building will be really rare and really special. And that's just who he is. And so I would love to sit down and have a great meal with Pete Carroll. I'm going to guess he's more of a breakfast guy than maybe lunch or dinner. That's my guess.
You'll get the senior citizen discount probably.
Yeah, I think we're going to go in early bird special.
Yeah, that'd be huge. And then my question with Pete would be, does he take his gum out and save it somewhere for after the meal? Or do you think he throws it away and he's got more gum in his pocket? I'm
also interested in what he eats. Like, I kind of feel like we're going to do some avocado and egg whites and probably have like an almond milk latte together, but I'm not sure. I'm going to guess that that's kind of giving me more the style, like rather than like Waffle House.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see.
Eating a banana and then rubbing the peel on his face. I mean, he looks that young.
To your question, I think we're not even going to pay the bill because somebody's going to walk in and be like, oh my God, that's Pete Carroll. And they're going to pay the bill. That's my guess.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, you didn't steal my second round pick. I'm going to go with Mike Tomlin.
Oh, dude, you stole my second round pick.
Well, hey, he's going to walk in. Gosh, he's going to command the room.
Damn it.
He has a calm, unshakable presence about him. Part of the reason I just want to hear him give a toast. I would love to hear him give a toast because I'm sure it would be fantastic. I guess a one-on-one toast would be weird, but I've already got some ins with him in terms of his son just graduated from Columbia, so we can do like the icebreakers and the Ivy League talk and kind of yuck it up. I know that he's boys with Tommy Amaker, who's the coach at Harvard for basketball right now. So we sort of have that guy that we both know. So I think we could get over some of that initial awkwardness.
What, are you not knowing the deal?
I don't know the deal.
Listen, we tried. We put him on the spot. I mean, I at the league meetings, Fitz way back when you're greeting with Mike, you didn't know the deal. He made that known, and so I put him on the spot and just said, hey, listen, you kind of made Fitz like he didn't know the deal, a couple years back, and he didn't flinch. He's like, nope, that's it. All right.
I lived a real life. It was a real life Key and Peele skit of Barack Obama where, I was the one white person in the conversation and just got a firm handshake, and I didn't get dapped up, and I did not know the deal.
And but we brought it up,
working towards it.
He dapped me up and gave me a hug, and he shook your hand and said, good to see you, Fitz.
Real pleasure to see you. Yeah.
That was great. That was awesome.
But I got to imagine the drinks will get flowing. He'll have some great stories. He's a dude. I feel like by the end of the dinner, he'll have me rethinking all of my life decisions. And I would love to have dinner with Mike T. And then at the very end, I'd ask him about George Pickens and just have him tell me a few stories.
I love that.
Okay, second round pick for you. You need some time? You mean buy you some time, or you got one?
You took Mike T off the board. Now I'm worried about getting picked. So you picking people I want to meet, but I feel pretty good about the next two that I'm thinking. But for this one, I'm a little torn. There's two guys that I'm in between on. It's because of us getting to go to league meetings and having that opportunity to be around all of them, Fitz.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, for me, it's Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. I was really intrigued getting the chance to kind of just.
Well, you got to pick one. Which one are you picking?
I'm gonna go Ben Johnson only because of this. So I really loved getting to meet those guys. First time head coaches, getting their opportunity, their passion and energy was really cool to sit down and have some of those conversations about who they see themselves as. But Ben Johnson, I'm picking because I'm intrigued, man. I see some similarities when Sean McVay came to the Rams in 2017 in the sense of like great play caller, a guy who's obviously, Sean didn't have the extensive success that Ben had, with Detroit and that group. He had a really special team. But Ben really like a very unique play caller, has a real feel for the game and how to use all his weapons and all those things. And you worry like, all right, new situation, you don't have those weapons. Does he actually know what the priorities are? And does he actually know like how to get there? Because he inherited some of these things. And to see him become a head coach and the first thing he did is addressed, I'm going to go get better players that are protecting my quarterback so we can run the ball better and protect him better. And Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson, and now signing Dahlman out of Atlanta, the center, you can tell he knows exactly where his bread is buttered and where we're going to start to build this offense so that we can give Caleb a chance for success. So I was really fired up to see him that's the first thing you do as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. And then just being around him, man, the vibe, the energy he has, there's some swagger there. I'm excited to see where he goes. So I would love to sit down and just kind of hear more about, him and what drives him and really his history a little bit and get to know him a little better, because I'm excited to see where he goes from here.
I would be curious to ask him the second decision he made after shoring up that O-line was talking shit on LaFleur.
Yeah, that was fun too. We had some fun with that.
That'll be a fun conversation to have too.
I think that means he's got a little fire, man. I like that.
See, we're looking at these dinners a little differently. You're going to be an X's and O's, an organizational guy, and I just, I want to get away from football a little bit. But I have a feeling that our last guy is going to be the same.
Can I go first?
Because you can go first if you don't, as long as you don't take mine.
Okay, cool.
Or how about, hey, I'm going to count to 3 and then say who yours is, and hopefully it's not the same guy. Okay, ready? 1, 2.
Andy Reid.
Andy Reid.
I got you. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
Did I jump the snap count?
Son of a bitch.
Call me Jawan Taylor, baby.
Tell me why you want to have dinner with Andy Reid. I knew it was going to be Andy Reid, by the way.
One, Andy Reid's the man. I've called him what I consider the best, head coach in NFL history before. I've said this. So you know what I admire him for that. But also just the human being, man. Getting to sit down with him last week and just talk a little life and football. And listen, you can try to take him if you want, Fitz. The guy's an offensive lineman. Okay. He's been in the room. You know what I mean? He's coached the room. He's been in the room. He's one of us, baby. So you can try to take him, and all this stuff. And all you guys really are going to realize is how important O-linemen are. And that's it. So he's a guy, to me, I've always looked up to. I love the way he coaches ball, the energy he has. I love that, reading a lot about him. He has this, he likes to write things down on note cards for people. And one of them was, like, don't judge. And it's basically like, give people opportunities and see who they are before you judge who they are. And I've seen him kind of talk about that and how he's developed over time, where he used to think everything had to be specifically done this one way. And I got this game, this game plan or playbook, and everything's got to like match up, all the lines, everything. And then over time, I've learned certain players draw outside the lines and color outside the lines. And like, I've got to learn to like how they fit, and I've got to adapt and grow to them. And so I just think he would have a wealth of knowledge when you talk about different quarterbacks, different players, no matter where it was, he's been successful. I would just love to pick his brain about that kind of stuff, because I think it's like amazing his level of sustained success, and then just the calm human he is. He coached me one time in the Pro Bowl. He was our coach, and just being around him that week, I was like, man, how special it would have been to just have the opportunity to play for this guy. I consider him the best, and I just think he'd be a lot of fun. And not to mention, I love a cheeseburger, so I'd be down to grub on some cheeseburgers with him, and get his cheeseburger knowledge would also be key. He knows the spots.
You can sit here and say you're an O lineman and he's an O lineman, but look, you've changed over the years. You've changed. So if you're going to a cheeseburger spot with Andy Reid and you ask for it protein style and get rid of the bun and just have lettuce on the outside. Oh, yeah, exactly. Andy's not going to love that. Here's my biggest concern. If I go to dinner with Andy Reid, my biggest concern is going to be that we're going to show up wearing the same shirt.
There's a chance
because the man's style is absolutely impeccable, an endless amount of Hawaiian shirts in the closet. He loves the button up. I think it would be a lot different than the McVay dinner, because Sean has a taste for the finer things and is going to pick a great restaurant, or it's going to have to be a great restaurant. With Andy, I think we could do a dive bar.
Oh,
I think we could get away from
That's a reason
right?
I want to go.
So it's like with him, I would love to talk football. We should go to Miller's, Andy. Love to talk food with him. Love to talk rib recipes and do all that. But the two things that I love about Andy, every time I see him, he tells me how much he loved my interview with him at the Combine back in 2005 when he was the Eagles coach. So I can't hear compliments enough. So that's why I would invite Andy to dinner. And then, the start of the Chiefs run here, they got home field advantage when in 2019, was it 19? Yeah, in 2019, the Dolphins knocked off the Patriots in the last game of the season to give them home field. Who was playing that game? Well, it's not actually, Mike Gesicki was the one that got the pass. Here you go. Grid Sicky. He got the shirt on today. But I love Andy. I think he's iconic. I think you could feel at the coaches meeting just how much respect all those guys have for him.
Everyone sat up a little straighter in their chairs when he walked in the room.
They most certainly did.
Cool.
So I thought that was a really cool thing. And I haven't had the chance to get to know him really well, but he's obviously revered by all his players and has had a ton of success. So I'm with you on the Andy Reid thing. I was a little nervous. We were both going to pick him, but I think the conversations would be very different, and he'd probably like me more because I keep the bun on my triple cheeseburger and you would use lettuce.
Unbelievable.
All right, and just to finish it off here, let's get to the viewers. We have been taking these comments and questions and kind of including them at the end of our podcast.
That's my favorite part.
And boy, there are always some
So
good ones. Let's get caught up. We've got a couple weeks here of comments that we can get caught up on. Recent visit with GM Brandon Bean. What is it? So we had Robert Gray 6512. He ended up saying, each of you three guys listen well. When did you first develop that skill? And is it a secret to your success? Go Bills. Let me hit you with that one first. I don't know. Did you learn this over the years? Is this, you've always been a good listener, Whit? How is that for you?
I feel like that's always been kind of a good trait, but it is something that I learned over time that, it's pretty hard to learn when my mouth's open and I'm just telling people what I already think. So, you got to listen to learn. And so I think for me, sometimes, choosing those moments where I have something to say, I'd rather hear what people have to say and where they're coming from and trying to meet them in those spots than maybe, always telling people what I want to tell them. So I enjoy actually getting to know people a little bit more and understand where they're coming from on something before I really get to share or even comment back. So I am much more of a listener than a talker.
I think with Brandon Bean too, neither of us knew him real well, but we're fascinated with some of the things that he was going to say and the stories he was telling and just the way that, he thought about things and went about his business. So that one in particular, I think we were both kind of hanging on the edge of our seats listening to what he was saying. I thought that was an awesome guy to talk to. And boy, he gave us some great insight on the Bills and kind of his thought process.
He did. And let's get to Joshua Orich 1024. He loved Fitz's comments about suffering on every single AFC East team except for the Patriots. Josh writes, trust me, I lived it. I think the comeback versus the Patriots was the highlight of Fitz's Buffalo career. It was for me. All right, Josh.
Yeah, I love that. It
was
really,
that your highlight, Fitz?
Dude, I think it might have been. And, people can say, oh, my God, they won 9 Super Bowls. Oh, my God, I can't believe a highlight for you is like week 2. But I think at that point and the drought and the amount of times that the Patriots had beat the Bills and for it to be at home and the feeling in that stadium after we won and some of the guys that were on the Bills for a while and had never beat the Patriots. I mean, it's a special moment. Like when I think back on my career, that certainly, is up there in the top 5 for me of, those moments you never want to let go because of how special a feeling it was. So, Joshua, I'm with you. It was a great moment, man. All right. Bills fan Cindy Jackson 2457 wants to know what we think about a free agency pickup by those Patriots. Here we go. I was curious if anybody was going to ask about this. So 2 weeks ago, she asked, I want to know what you think about Hollins going to Pats. It seems like we could have retained him, leading receiver touchdowns by 1, I know, but would go after and tackle defenders, even big boys. I got a comment on this one, Whit, first. So he was actually, I was with him in Miami. Mac, this was an interesting one for me because he's kind of always been a nomad and he kind of marches to the beat of his own drum. I didn't love seeing it. I'm sure New England offered him more money. So if you're Mac Hollins, the situation he was in was, okay, I probably have this chance, maybe the last chance I have to chase a paycheck somewhere. This team is willing to offer me the most, or I could be here in Buffalo and continue to be beloved and quirky and 100% myself. And, a guy that's going to be remembered now as a Bill. And he had to make that decision. I don't fault him for taking more money. with the Patriots, because this is probably one of the times where he's going to be able to go and chase a paycheck. But wherever Mac goes, he's going to fit into the locker room. He's going to be weird. He's going to be quirky. He's not going to wear shoes. And the fan base is going to love and appreciate him. The thing is, that stuff, it caught on in Buffalo because Buffalo was a good team. Now, if you go and do that somewhere where it's not a good team and you're losing, nobody cares. So he made a choice, and I'm always rooting for my guy, Mac Hollins.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I will say, though, I think playing for Vrabel in New England is going to be similar in the sense of the things they're going to be about. Vrabel is going to love all the things that Mac is in that sense, the toughness and just the guy he is really as far as a competitor. Now, some of the other stuff, Braves is also the type who's probably going to try to give him shit. So I would ask you,
interesting.
Does Mac respond well to that? Because Braves is going to talk trash to him about it. You know he is.
I know.
He can't help it.
Well, so Mac is going to talk shit to Braves too.
Yeah,
so it'll be a good back and forth.
So that'll be good.
The only thing it'll get, Braves is going to get the eye roll going. Oh yeah. Once,
Hey, Braves can't say nothing. First day of the league meetings, I walk up Fitz. He's suited. He's got the boat shoes on, no socks. I'm like, who is this guy? This is Braves?
He's a New England guy again. He's a New England guy. He's got his boat shoes on.
No socks. Gross. In South Florida, I mean, it's humid. Those sweaty. Ugh.
I'm excited for Braves, though. That's a place he wanted to be, and nowhere to go but up. The way that they've played the last few years in New England, but I think they've got their quarterback, and they got a real chance to improve this year.
Yeah, well, let's move on to Georgie Karchalaba. All right, he wants to say thank you, Fitzy. Shocker.
Wow, a lot of Buffalo.
Georgia says Fitz not returning to Buffalo because he didn't want to curse Josh Allen is awesome. Laugh out loud. We would have loved you back, Fitz, but I appreciate you doing your cosmic duty. This sounds like Matt Collins wrote it.
Yeah, cosmic duty. I had a string, man, where everywhere I went when I was the backup, the quarterback got hurt everywhere. And even when I was like the starter in New York and then I got benched, the guy that came in got hurt and I just couldn't stay off the field. So I think there was something to it. My cousin's husband had a jersey of mine that said Widowmaker on the back. I started to believe it after so many things happened. So I didn't want anything to happen to Joss. No chance in hell I wanted to be responsible for that. What else we got? We got anything else, Whit?
Yeah, let me see. And last but not least, my absolute favorite this week, a little hate mail in my direction from Kid Card Drips 7098.
Kid Card Drips is getting after you, my guy.
He watched the Brandon Bean interview and then wrote, Kid Card Drips 78 says, Fitz had an amazing line of questions right on the spot. And then this other guy came in with some adolescent joke to Bean, like it was his first day at Dick's Sporting Goods as a kid and wanted to make the boss like him.
Oh, I mean, this kid's got a point, man. I appreciate you, Kid Card Drips, telling me about my amazing line of questions. I felt the same thing. It's a serious interview. We're just all trying to be informed and hear about Brandon Bean. And then it's just Whit. At some point, you have to grow up,
Well, Kid Card Drips, I apologize for being that other guy. You know what I'm saying? My guy. I apologize for my questioning. I'll do a better job here going forward.
What is that? Is that the Lombardi trophy there, Whit?
Oh, no, it's just my friend Lombardi, Walter. And I don't know if you knew this, but last year I won our TNF season-long pick'em. So,
trust me.
Okay. I just didn't know. I was reminding you in case.
Looking wimpy. All right. Well, Kid Card Drips, he didn't call you my guy. So that's a win for you, I guess. But hopefully you never see him in person. He's pretty big and mean in person.
That's not true.
Keep those comments and questions coming on YouTube, on Instagram, on X. We will be back next week with another freshie, a brand new episode of Fitz and Whit.
Peace.
Bye.